Hello, I am Baibarac Duignan, a researcher at the Department of Media and Culture Studies at Utrecht University. Together with my colleague, Nana Verhoeff, I have started to explore the notion of ungluing in the design of human-technology relations, which I will introduce in this presentation. The COVID-19 global pandemic has brought about various levels of lockdown or closure in our cities. This has led to a significant increase in the use of digital technology in our everyday lives, for work, for shopping, or connecting with loved ones at a distance. But it has also created new forms of exclusion for those, for example, who do not have the resources to own such technologies, and new forms of surveillance and control, for instance, through the so-called corona apps. In this context, we ask, what kinds of human-technology relations do we wish to see in the future? And how might we design for such relations? Seeing the lockdown as a moment in time in our future in the making, and as a consequence of past and present destructive human practices, we use Karen Barad's concept of relational agency to explore it as an opportunity for transformation, a matter of reconfiguring entanglements around human-technology relations. To do this, we use the metaphor of glue, typically understood as a hard gelatin or any sticky adhesive substance that can be used to bind two things, objects, or figuratively also people together. We use it, however, as a verb, a continuum moving between gluing and ungluing, holding together and cutting apart, and proposed as a conceptual framework for reimagining human-technology relations in the post-lockdown city through co-creation. Both the materiality and the temporality invoked by this metaphor are important here. To us, gluing reflects the materiality of human-technology interactions. So rather than interaction, which suggests separate entities that interact with one another, interaction suggests a material relation between humans and technology through which knowing takes place, and that opens up possibilities for reconfiguring entanglements between them. So this opportunity or possibility for reconfiguration connects to the temporality that we associate with the concept. In particular, we see it as offering the possibility for gluing alternative imaginaries around technology and ungluing present damaging practices through processes of co-creation that allow us to reimagine other forms of relations. In more specific terms, gluing can be seen as connecting or binding different elements within and between, such as materials, objects or things and tools, but also relationships, methodologies, practices and experiences, and indeed moments in time or temporalities. We will briefly discuss some of these elements highlighted here in bold, and then reflect on the potentiality of using ungluing as a conceptual framework for reimagining human-technology relations. So to discuss these elements through the lens of ungluing, we will use examples from an ongoing public engagement project on which we collaborate. One of the key aims and also challenges for our project is how to involve ordinary urban residents in thinking about data. So what data might mean in the context of the neighborhood, and also how they could use it to shape more sustainable futures for their local areas. In order to reach out to residents here from a relatively new suburb of Utrecht, Leidse Rijn, we connected with a cultural organization, Casco Art Institute, based in Utrecht, and a group of artists, the Outsiders, who have established relationships with this neighborhood over time through various artistic interventions that reflect local issues. So besides reaching out to residents through their mediation, we consider our collaboration to be an important strategy for connecting discussions around data, which is arguably an abstract notion, with everyday life practices, such as those connected to food. At the same time, given the ongoing initiative of the artists and Casco to cultivate an art ecological practices in this part of Utrecht, we also connect to broader discourses around culture and sustainability. So gluing then can be seen as a matter of relationships between people, experiences, knowledges, contexts, and broader technosocial issues. At the same time, working within a framework of co-creation, we consider it important to develop our methodology together with our collaborators. This also means connecting with their ongoing projects and planned events so that we can define shared goals and also contribute to each other's work. So one such opportunity was to link with one of their ongoing projects entitled the Traveling Farm Museum of Forgotten Skills, which is part of this co-initiative between The Outsiders and Casco. Gluing here can be seen as a creative crossing of academic and artistic knowledges and practices, which opens up possibilities for new understandings and creative approaches. So for example, in our research, we do not focus on food or technology per se, but rather we think through human technology relations, both in fundamental and practical terms. On the other hand, artistic practices involve experimenting with methods, materials, and meanings, while reflecting on broader technosocial issues. In this case, climate change, sustainability, and urban commons are really important themes for these artists. At the beginning of our collaboration, we had planned to develop a series of workshops in the neighborhood. However, this also coincided with the outbreak of the coronavirus, which of course meant that we had to reconsider our approach. And eventually we decided to combine digital and analog formats for engaging with the neighborhood as part of this experimental approach. Analog formats include the artist's depot window, which is basically the window of a shop space that they have been renting in the center of the neighborhood. That we used as a way of engaging passersby with the outcomes of workshops, but also to involve them in the conversation by connecting them with a digital depot, which is a website, via QR code glued onto the window of the shop. So from this perspective, gluing can be seen as a way of creatively responding to a moment in time, so here the lockdown, through recombining analog and digital materials and tools. The website, which is the so-called digital depot, uses hot glue. This is a visual tool for making websites with no technical skills required, launched as an artistic project by a Rotterdam-based Fab Lab in 2001. I came across hot glue in my previous research when the aim of that particular project was to co-design digital toolkits to support community initiatives involved in various forms of urban commons. These communities often have limited technical skills and financial resources, but also diverse needs that can actually change quite quickly. So then as well in this project, we used hot glue as a portal that brings together various tools which are built using existing digital technologies that people actually may use in their everyday lives, adapted to the particular purposes of a community, and also open to replacement, or for example, when they become obsolete and when other tools are needed by the community. In the case of the digital depot, we are using Ushahidi, which is a collaborative map-making tool, as a way of collecting information about food and food growers in the neighborhood. We use also a ready-made version of Etherpad, which is a collaborative writing pad, as a way of creating a neighborhood recipe book. Typeform, which is an online questionnaire tool, as a way of involving residents in thinking about alternative neighborhood futures for the area. And Instagram, a photo sharing tool, as a way of creating a repository of the collective experience. So gluing here then is about reassembling many software tools as part of composite, modular, and agile interfaces. And in this process, ungluing monolithic understanding of technology, but also capabilities for the participation of many rather than a few in their making. Besides tools, also material content and the temporary experience of a workshop. For example, as you see here, the photos glued onto the website can also be stored via the digital depot. And in this process, it can become part of the collective memory. So in this sense, gluing can be seen as enabling a canvas for co-creation and holding together the memory of the collective experience, which in itself opens up possibilities for reimagining a plurality of futures for the neighborhood. Now, while these are just a few examples of how ungluing can be conceptualized, we suggest that it can provide a useful framework for reimagining human-technology relations and also how might design for such relations. And this is something that we're very interested in exploring further. As we have seen, gluing highlights the potential of using or reusing existing software tools to assemble modular interfaces that allow for broader participation in their making and remaking. It also acknowledges that creativity and agency emerge through encounter. So for example, through the crossing of different fields, knowledges and practices, or to bringing together diverse analog and digital forms of expression. At the same time, the lockdown, seen as a moment in time, offers a particular window of opportunity to rethink human-technology relations beyond a mere matter of design, but rather ethically glued as part of wider technosocial issues, such as responsibility for the use of limited and indeed diminishing resources. Then gluing could also be about disassembling damaging practices that have arguably led to the current pandemic and other ecosocial crises, and assembling new practices that do not erase the memory of the past so that other futures can actually come about. So to conclude, we borrow again from Karen Barad by proposing an ethics of responsibility when redesigning human-technology relations. This implies an ability or indeed capability to respond, to which we add to respond with care to others, human or not, and being attentive to how through these relations we sediment, or to use our metaphor, we glue the world in certain kinds of ways and not others. Thank you very much. We look forward to your reactions.